悪魔には死んだ人の体を乗っ取れるやつもいるらしい。ポチタにそれができるんだったら、俺の体をポチタにあげてんだ。普通の暮らしをして、普通の死に方をしてほしい。俺の夢を叶えてくれよ。ポチタ、俺の体ちゃんと奪えたか？
私はデンジの夢の話を聞くのが好きだった。これは契約だ。私の心臓をやる代わりにデンジの夢を私に見せてくれ。
悪いことじゃねえけど邪魔すんなら死ね。
Hello everyone. Today we'll be unboxing another statue for this week. Here we have is a statue from the manufacturer's Prime1Studio, a statue part of their ultimate Premium Masterline. Is a 1/4 scale deluxe bonus version statue of the character Denji. Also his transformed Chainsaw Man design with Pochita from the series Chainsaw Man or Chainsaw Man. As always, before we take the statue out of its packaging, just in case you didn't know, Chainsaw Man or Chainsaw Man is a manga serialized in Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump in 2018 by the mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto, who's also worked on other mangas such as Fire Punch in 2016, Look Back in 2021, Sayonara Eddie in 2022, and others. After the completion of the first arc, Chainsaw Man 2, or Arc 2, was serialized in Shueisha's Shonen Jump Plus in 2022 by the same mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto. The series has gotten an anime adaptation in 2022 consisting of 12 episodes going by the same name, Chainsaw Man by Studios Mappa. A movie is set to release in September of 2025 by Studios Mappa by the name Gekijoban Chainsaw Man Reze Hen, or Chainsaw Man Movie Reze Arc, that I can't wait for it to be released. So, as you can see here, the box is pretty large, so I'm only showing you guys different angles of the box rather than have it rotating in 360. This is the deluxe bonus version, so I think is the same content as the deluxe version, but I think the bonus deluxe version comes with Pochita. So, without holding you guys back, let's just take Denji, or aka Chainsaw Man, out of the box and see how the statue looks. So as you can see here, it does come with two layerings in the styrofoam here. As you can see here, this is the top layer of the statue's box. As you can see here, all parts are actually wrapped with tissue paper, to protect the paint and all the other stuff from the statue from moving around. And this is actually me removing all the tissue paper so we can get a better look of how each part looks before I take them out and we assemble it together. And already looking at this, I can see there's a lot of parts for the blood effect on this base, so it's gonna be a pain, but don't worry, we're gonna assemble it all together in the video. With the first top layer, you see blood effects, all the swap all arms, and a couple other little accessories. So I'm guessing the bottom layer, as you can see here, this is the bottom layer of the styrofoam, and I guess this is where we see you can see all the parts here are also wrapped with tissue paper, to protect the figurine's paint, or the statue's paint. And this is after removing all of the tissue paper from said parts. We do get his Chainsaw Man or Denji's head, as you can see here, Pochita, and some of the zombie heads, and also a couple little other blood effects here. And we got the regular deluxe bonus regular Denji head there, his body, and also the main base. So this is going to be a lot to assemble, but don't worry, we're going to be doing that together in this video. So here we go. Just like every other statue, we do get us an assembly and instructions guide here. And as I stated before, you can kind of see how much part we're gonna have to assemble when it comes to the blood effect. So here in this first section here, we do get is a little bit of art, or the statue in picture form here, showing you how each part goes. Here's a storage reference sheet here with also the list of parts where they're all numbered together, so you can tell which part goes in which during assembly. And here we have is a notice here that's in both or in 3 languages: Chinese, Japanese, and in English. Here on the top here we do get is the step-by-step of each part. You guys can pause it and see how each part goes and where. I can already tell this is going to take me a bit of time, but don't worry, we're not going to dwell too much on the blood effects because it's just simple red, right? Where it's not like anything special that we're going to have to see in detail. So this is the front of the assembly instruction sheet, and here is the back where we do get is the later portion of the assembly guide here when you are assembling it together. Here on this side, like as I stated before, we get is the rest of the steps where you can pause it and also check yourself. And you can kind of see there is a battery function in this statue where you do use this little lithium battery. I'll explain it when we get to it, but as you can see here on this side of the sheet, which will be the finalizing the whole thing, where you can kind of see is Pochita, which does come with the Deluxe Bonus version and it's not included in the regular Deluxe version. And also we get is more art prints here of the statue, and besides that there's not really much else to show you with this. You can see here on the section here they do give you is a warning here, 15 years and plus, which I don't know which 15-year-old will be buying this, but if anything, try not to keep it around 15-year-olds, I guess, because there's a possibility they could break it. But besides that, there's not really much else to show you guys. You can pause the video and see the statue as close as you want, but we're going to be moving on to the actual statue. So here we have is Denji's base. So we're not going to be seeing this after I set this down. As you can see Ultimate Premium Masterline, Denji, Chainsaw Man, your edition size out of 300, other information such as the mangaka and other stuff at the bottom, and also a little silhouette of Denji on the base. But this is what you'll see once you get it towards the bottom. So here is the actual base before everything is assembled together. As you can see here, I kind of really do like the way this base looks, because you can kind of see it looks like Denji or Chainsaw Man's mouth getting ready to munch or eat all of the zombies that we see on the top portion of the base. As you can see here, we do get is an insert hole where you do connect the piece there. And as I stated before, I think the little glossy finish they added here on the base looks really great. It's quite reflective. You can kind of see my light also from that, so I apologize for that brightness. Here we do have is a mechanical, wires around, and they painted it really nice. That grimy, like brown blackish color looks really well applied there. Here we have is the, I'm assuming is epoxy material where they created the blood effect, which looks pretty decent, but with my experience with those type of effects, they're quite fragile, so it could break easily, so do be careful with that. Here are the zombie bodies, which honestly I think they painted the blood quite decently. I mean, it's obviously fake blood, so you can kind of tell it's not the best in detail, but it still looks really good. So it's obviously fake blood, but I think they did a pretty nice job with all the red that they applied onto here, because I think once you get a lot of blood on a certain spot, it tends to be more of a darker red color. So I guess they left it with a more of a lighter red because it's only like splashing on them. But I think they kind of made this quite well sculpted. As you can see here with this arm, it's all grimy, nasty looking. You can kind of see a shriveled arm of a zombie there, and they're all grabbing amongst each other trying to get to Denji. And I think this is a reference to the manga's cover, and also I think it's also the scene where, in the beginning when he transforms into Chainsaw Man. As you can see, this is the other side of the the base here, we can kind of see a better look of the other section. I think there's 4 zombies here, 1 in the middle and 3 around it. And here's a top view of the base here, which also looks really great. As you can see here, we do get a better view of all the insert holes that you do have to connect. As I stated before, we are going to be connecting them piece by piece, don't worry, and it rotating in 360 so we can kind of get a better look. And honestly, you see the handles on the base, do be careful with that, because the instructions guy said that it's not supposed to be carried in that section. That will snap if you carry it from those handles. So if you are going to pick this up, pick it up from the bottom of the base. But besides that, there's not really much else to show you. Again, looks quite detailed, so we're going to be moving on to the next piece. Here is the first blood effect, which as you can see here, looks really great. And as I stated before, they actually gave it a darker red look to it, because I think once blood accumulates in a certain area, it tends to get darker. So I think they applied a darker tone onto this, which looks really great. And it does have a magnet that goes into this little insert hole here, so let's just connect that piece there. So here we have is the other blood effect, as you can see here, splashing towards a different direction. And I think they sculpted this quite well. You can kind of see it's like a more of a brighter red towards the bottom of the magnets, and also a more of a darker red towards the tips of it. Again, looks really well. Honestly, this feels quite fragile, so when you are handling this, be really careful with this and make sure not to drop this, because this will break. And the magnet piece here connects to the base and also connects to this other splash effect. So here's a smaller blood effect here, and in this section here where you see the little magnet hole, that's where you connect this effect. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on this because we already did with the other splash effect. Again, looks really well sculpted and actually looks quite nice, but again, it's a fragile piece, so do be quite careful when you are connecting this piece together. So here we have is another blood effect here, as you can see here, splashing upwards. Again, it's typical thing that I can say about it. It looks actually really well. The darker red with the brighter red. Again, be quite careful with this, and this blood effect actually gets quite near the handle, as you can see here, so be really careful when you are connecting this piece onto it to avoid hitting that handle. So here we have is an arm or a sleeve of one of the zombies here, and as I stated before when we were talking about the base earlier, I think they added the blood effect quite well on this. Again, it is fake blood, so you can kind of tell that it's not, you know, as detailed, because it's kind of like, you know, a decent color red. But again, the sculpt looks really well. I say that like I want real blood on it. Well, no, but it still looks quite detailed and looks really great. So this hand sculpt, when you put it onto the base, gets really close to this blood effect there. And because these magnets are quite a little strong, do be careful when you are connecting this that you don't accidentally let it go and it snaps in place and hits the blood effect, because you could break it. So here we have is one of the zombie arms here, or hand I should say. As you can see here, they did quite well with sculpting this. You can kind of see it's like almost shriveled up, nasty looking with holes. And this connects to this section here of the arm that we did connect. So here is another zombie hand here, which you can see here a better shot of this arm. Again, looks quite shriveled up because it's a zombie, gray, and it has holes around it, which is a little nasty looking, but it is a zombie, so we're going to expect flesh being rotten on it. So this hand sculpt does go onto one of the zombies here, as you can see here. And again, make sure you be careful when you are assembling it together. Here is another splash blood effect here. Again, it's actually quite well sculpted, but again, because of the material it is made out of, it is fragile, so make sure you handle these with care and connect them slowly onto the base to avoid damaging it. So here we have is another zombie hand. As you can see here, this one's a little bit more, has a little bit more blood and a little bit more detail onto it. As you can see here, kind of looks, the palm of his hand looks shriveled up and nasty looking. And as you can see here, this connection piece goes to this hand, or this arm here. And this zombie arm here, again, quite detailed as well. You can see all the shriveled up skin, the blood, the holes onto this hand, and it looks quite nasty looking. But this arm here gets really close to this hand, so when you are putting it together, again, be quite careful. And also it pushes against this arm here, or his hand, so be really careful when you are placing this together, that you don't accidentally break a finger of the statue, not yours. So this insert hole here in the back is actually where you connect Denji onto. And when you do connect it, his other foot goes onto the arm of this zombie. Right here. So when you are connecting it, be quite careful because they get near each other and you don't want to accidentally, damage the statue. So here, before I actually connect it, you can see the peg and the bottom of his boot actually has detail to it. And also this boot as well. You can kind of see like a blood effect on it, which it's okay. It doesn't look the best, but it's still great that they added detail to the bottom of the shoe. Here we have is Denji's body sculpt. As you can see here, starting from his boots. I think this blood effect on his actual clothing looks a lot better than what we saw on the sweaters of the zombies earlier. But I'm guessing that's because his paint that they applied onto his body is a lot brighter in color. So you can kind of see more of the detail of the blood on his clothing, which looks really great. But besides that, his paint, or his sculpt of his actual clothing, looks really well detailed. You can see the crease lines of his jeans here, and if you look closely, you do get a little bit of a grid pattern around his pants, which gives him more of a realistic fabric look. Like we did with Jagi's sculpt, we can kind of see almost like a leathery look. Here we got is like almost like a jean look, which looks really detailed. You can kind of see his pants are also, you know, scuffed up, you know, scraped because he's, you know, fighting the zombies off. Here's his other foot, which I stated earlier is laying on top of one of the zombies' arms. And again, you can see it's also covered with blood because he is stomping on the zombies and, you know, cutting them up, which actually looks really nice. You can kind of see a comparison from the zombies' blood paint compared to his boots here, which his boots looks really well where they painted the blood effect on. Going up his pants again, you can kind of see here is the little bit of grooves they added around his pants, which looks really detailed, and also with the crease lines and the scuffed up around the pants area. As I stated earlier, it's really amazing detail work. Here is his shirt, and again, it looks really great. The paint they added here for the blood effect looks really great. Here we have is the insert hole for his head, which we'll get to there when we're there. And again, the blood paint application around the actual shirt looks really amazing. And also the creases, again, from this angle of the pants looks really great. You can see he has his belt. And you can kind of see in some of his section of his shirt, you can kind of see like he's also getting, you know, scuffed up and also damaged while also going crazy. Here's the back of his shirt, which I think you can kind of see a better detail here of the blood. Looks really great. His shirt also has a bit of a groove design or on the sculpt, which looks really great. It kind of feels like actual fabric. And you can see the creases on his short sleeves, which looks really great. Here's his collar on the top. But besides that, it looks really great. Here's another angle of his other side of his sculpt. And as I stated before, there's not really much else I can say about it than what I said earlier. But here's another angle where you can kind of see the other side of his body sculpt, which again looks really great. They even added the leathery look texture on his belt, which makes it quite detailed. And again, you can see this other side of the angle of his boot area. As I stated earlier, it looks really well sculpted. It actually looks a lot better as from what we saw in the zombies. You can see here in the back, I'm trying to get you guys like the best shots of his pants from the texture work of his pants. All the creases and stuff looks really amazing. But again, this is his body before we actually add all his arms and his head. So we will be doing that later on in the video. Here's the insert hole from the back of his hands, or his arms I should say. And you can kind of see he did get scuffed up here in the back, which also looks really great. But besides that, there's not really much else I can add, so we're just going to continue on with the next section of the statue, which could be, I think, the zombie parts. So here we have is another zombie arm here, which is the final zombie arm. And compared to the other ones, this does have a metal beam on it, which I find weird. I wonder why they didn't just make it into a magnet. But there's probably reasons for that. But you can kind of see here the arm also is all torn up, bloody looking, and also old and, you know, decrepit. So let's just connect this little pin right into this last sleeve. So here we have is our first zombie head. As you can see here, it's actually really well sculpted. You can kind of see here they gave it a broken jaw and also like a rotten skin texture to it. It's just almost similar to what you saw on the arms, but because this is a face, you kind of see like a more of a grotesque look to it. I think they did a pretty nice job with the blood effect on it, and it kind of looks kind of nasty when it comes to the mouth area there. You can kind of see his eyes, no pupils, there's blood splattered over his forehead. The hair sculpt looks actually pretty well sculpted for a zombie head. They gave it a nice texture work here on the hair, and you can kind of see there's like the lines of hair. He has no ears, but it's actually a pretty nice zombie sculpt. Well, it's not like I've seen or own other zombies, but it goes onto this body here. So here we have is the other zombie head, which you could kind of say he has a blood mohawk. So just like the other head, you can kind of see here they gave it a grotesque, bloody, you know, splash all over the zombie's face because, you know, Chainsaw Man is going around and just slicing all these zombies up. And as I stated before, his hairstyle is actually a lot more different. You can kind of see it's more like a combed back hair, and he has no pupils just like the other zombie. And the difference between him is obviously the little blood splash effect, like he's getting sliced up in between his eyes, going around his whole entire head. You can kind of see here we have the mixed material with the, I would assume is epoxy sculpt here, creating this blood effect around him. And as I stated earlier, it does look like a mohawk out of blood, which is pretty cool. Again, this does feel a little fragile, so if you do own this, be careful when you are handling with this section and with every other blood effect. And this head sculpt goes, I believe, into the most top in between Denji's foot. So let's just connect this piece. So here we have is another zombie head sculpt, and honestly this head sculpt is a little bit more nasty looking. You can kind of see here he has a bit of his hair. The neck area is also painted quite well. You can kind of see his skin texture looks really well. And as I stated earlier, I think this head is a little bit more grotesque because if you can see here on the top of his head, it's almost like he was, I think the word is filleted. His skin from the top of his head is actually ripped off, so you get a look of all the muscle texture work that of the skin of the head, or underneath the skin of the hair. And it looks actually really bloody, which you can kind of see they also added a splash blood effect here around him, because again he's getting chopped up by Denji in his Chainsaw Man form. And here's the top portion, which actually looks really well sculpted, but again looks quite nasty. You can kind of see they did a little bit of texture work on the little second layer of skin, I believe, underneath the hair, which I would never thought of saying that, but I said it. And yeah, it looks quite bloody, which again, it may be for those that are weak of stomach, not me, but they'd probably find this section a little bit nasty. So besides that, it's actually a really well sculpted zombie head. Again, do be real careful with this. You don't want to accidentally break the splash of blood effect on it. And I believe this head goes onto the bottom torso of the zombie here. So here we have is another blood effect here, which I'm not going to go too much into detail on this. It's just a smaller blood effect here that goes onto the side of the zombie here. Again, looks nice sculpted, but do be careful when you are handling this, because if you drop it, it will break. So again, here we have is another blood effect here, which is actually a lot larger and a lot skinnier, and compared to the other blood effect that are magnets, this does have a metal beam on the tip of it, which again, I'm not sure why they do that, but it's like that, I guess, to hold it up a little bit more stronger probably. And you can kind of see here again, just like every other of this other splash effect of blood that we've seen, it looks quite decently sculpted. So do be careful when you are connecting this to avoid any breakage. Here's another blood effect here, which again, I'm not gonna go into detail, but this magnet does go to the side of the zombie here. And again, with this, do be careful because the magnets tend to be a little bit strong, so you don't want to accidentally have it pull on you and you hit the base and break it. Another blood effect. Again, I think it's gonna be like a thing that we're gonna be seeing is a lot of these blood effects. So again, this does have a magnet on the bottom here where you do connect to the base of this zombie section here. So here is another splash blood effect, which you kind of see here is the magnet, a little bit smaller. It does feel fragile, so again, like I said with the every other splash effect, do be careful when you are connecting this to avoid any breakage. So here we have is, I apologize, this is the final splash blood effect here. Again, this one comes with a little metal rod, just like the other effect, rather than a magnet. I'm assuming because this is a little bit larger is to, prop and hold it up. So this goes onto the side of the zombie section here. And again, just be really careful when you are connecting this because you don't want to actually force the piece and accidentally break it. So here we have is the final zombie head here, which this head looks a lot more tame than with the other zombie head we saw earlier. You can kind of see here's his head is cut in half. As you can see here, you can see the big mouth of the zombie. You can see the blood painted all over him. And it actually looks really well. I like the way the teeth looks here. And you can kind of see where it actually goes from the polystone to the other material on top that creates the little splash blood effect. And yeah, but besides that, this one's a little bit more tamer, but again, it looks really cool having his head like half missing. And this zombie goes onto this torso here. So this is the last two pieces here to complete the base. Here we have is a little saw part here, which again, this goes onto the sides here that we saw earlier that were missing a little piece. This is where you connect this saw section here, which again, they're quite sharp, so do be careful when you are handling this. And here is the other saw, which goes on the opposite end, or should I say the saw's teeth. Well, besides that, I think this will be the last piece we do connect to complete the entire base of Denji or Chainsaw Man. So after connecting this piece, we're going to be moving on to the actual head sculpt and arm sculpt of Denji or Chainsaw Man. So before we continue on, we're going to be skipping a couple little steps. Here we have his Denji's tie, which I want to have right on the figurine, so I don't need to put it on him when I'm showing you guys the arms. But again, you can kind of see they did painted it quite well. You can kind of see they also gave it a little bit of a blood splash effect on it, which looks pretty great. It matches his clothing, and it goes into this little magnet section there. So as you can see here, we have his Denji's first swap out arm. As you can see here, this is his right arm here, which his arm is actually open palm, and I think the other one's more of a closed fist. But as you can see here, the paint of the blood looks actually really great, way better than what we saw on the torso area. Or I guess it's because it's more of a flesh color, or it's over flesh like his arms, so it kind of pops out a lot more. But the paint looks really amazing. Having a closer shot here, you can kind of see is like he has scuffs and scratches all over his arm because he's slicing through the horde. And just like we saw on the base, we do get is like an epoxy layering on his chainsaw blade. You can see the teeth of the chainsaw is actually covered with blood, and the tip here is actually translucent. So I'm guessing they sculpted the plastic first and then overlaid it with this epoxy to create the blood effect. So it's kind of like an incomplete chainsaw, and then the tip is just more of an epoxy material. And like I said before, yes, the chainsaw is plastic, not polystone. So I'm guessing that's probably to, you know, make sure that this thing doesn't really break during transit, maybe. But as you can see here, again, closer shot here, you can kind of see the blade is going in between his arm. So besides that, not really much to show you, so let's just connect this to his torso. See, here we have it is his left arm, and as I stated before, he has more of a closed fist with this one, but it's the same type of blade going in between his arm, as you can see here. Again, the paintwork of blood on this looks really great. You can kind of see he's also scratched up again and also damaged, just like the other arm, because you know he's slicing up the zombies and getting attacked by them. And as I stated before, the blade is plastic, so it's not, I don't think it's perfectly straight, but you can kind of see it kind of like it's kind of shifted a little, but it still looks great nonetheless. The blood here looks really amazing. The glossy finish they added onto his skin there to create like the realistic blood on it looks really great. You kind of see here, this one actually has more of the blade sculpted compared to the other chainsaw we saw earlier. But as you can see here, the blade is in between his arms, so it like splits in the middle. But like I said, he has more of his blade than the epoxy material. It's mainly on the tips of the teeth of the chainsaw. But again, do be careful with this because it does feel a little bit flimsy that you could actually break this if you drop it. But besides that, let's just add this to the torso and move on to the main head. So here we have is Denji's Chainsaw Man transformationed head, or transformed head. As you can see here, starting from the base, we do get is the magnet peg here on the bottom, and on the side here you can actually see they added a lot of detail with his neck area, which looks really detailed. And the back here is actually exposed, which comes with a separate piece to place on top of it or behind it. It's because I think it's to hide this little section here, so just remember to place that when you do get this statue. But besides that, it actually is really detailed. You kind of see it gives, the paint gives like a mechanical feel, and it looks really great. You kind of see also did a little bit of splashes of red paint around it to represent blood around it. But I really love the vibrant orange that the face actually has, which looks really cool. You can see the teeth here, looks really well sculpted. You can kind of see the almost like flesh underneath the head or in between the teeth. Looks really really great. You can kind of see here the chainsaw here on the tip also has the same type of material, and it kind of feels plastic as well, just like we got with the chainsaw arms. And again, this sculpt looks really cool. And here's the top of it, and I don't have the light up features, and we will be putting the batteries later, but I'm just showing you guys the head of how it looks. You can kind of see this handle section here, which, man, this looks really cool. And I really love the way the vibrant orange of this looks. Quite actually has a glossy finish to it, so it's kind of shiny and reflective with the light. So let's just add this to the torso. So when getting the deluxe version, this face here, or this swap out head, does come with the deluxe set. As you can see here, it's the same, I think the same sculpt neck area as we saw with the other head, but the difference between that head and this head is this head obviously has the tongue sticking out, and it does also have the section here where you do place the batteries, and you do have to connect this little piece here to the back of it, you know, to cover this section here, just like that. And again, just like I stated before, it has like a metallic feel, the paint, which I do really like, and a little bit of splashes of paint or red paint around it to represent blood. But the difference between this one is, you know, kind of obvious here with the tongue sticking out like he's going crazy, which again, the sculpt of the tongue looks really detailed. Same thing with the bottom of his mouth, and you can kind of see the flesh in between his like mask or his helmet there, which looks really detailed, which I really do like. I haven't put the batteries yet, so I'll be showing that light up feature later. So, but besides that, you can kind of see here's the top, and you can kind of see in this one you have is more of a blood splash effect coming out of his forehead, compared to the other one where it had nothing of this blood effect coming out. I know it's a little bit hard to show you it, but I'll show you when I have the head side by side. But let's just connect this piece into the torso and see how it looks. So as you can see here, this is both the Chainsaw Man's head side by side, as you can see here. Again, I think there's not much of a difference between both heads, besides the tongue sticking out of one head, and also the blood effect coming out of his forehead, where the Chainsaw Man blade is like protruding out, as you can see here. And I think there's a little bit of a difference with the blood effect that's on the actual chainsaw blade. But besides that, there's not much else I see that's different. If you guys see it, you can, you know, pause the video and check it out yourself. But yeah, this is how it looks side by side. So as I stated before, it does have a battery section here, as I stated earlier, which you do need an LR41 battery. I think it's a set of 3 that you do have to place up. Technically, it's almost, you need to buy yourself 6 sets of LR41 batteries, but I couldn't find any, so I bought a 384 or 392 batteries, and I think they still work with the same connections here. So again, if you don't have an LR41, you can also go for a battery that's around a 384 and a 392. And this does go here, but again, be really careful when you are connecting this, because I kind of struggled with it. But once you get it, you can kind of see here we do have the little light up feature for his eyes here, which look really cool. It actually makes the statue pop out a lot more than when it has his lights off. It's a nice little feature, but it's not really something I tend to really use when it comes to these statues. But It's actually quite nice, and I think it kind of fits for this statue because that's where you can actually see his eyes then when it's turned off. But again, it looks really cool. And again, just like the other head sculpt, we here have is the other head, as you can see here, with the light up feature as well. It's not really much of a difference, they both light up the same, but again, as I stated earlier, it's not something I really use for these statues, but it's actually a nice little touch to have, especially when you have, you know, bought it for a statue for thousands of dollars. Here we have is Denji's regular hand sculpt, as you can see here. I think they went with the same design with an open palm here for his right arm without the Chainsaw Man blade, and honestly it looks really good. You can kind of see here they sculpted his palm area there, and you can see his fingers as well. They kind of gave it a little bit of like almost like a tendon on his arm here where they sculpted it, which looks really great. The paint's actually really good as well, and the sculpt looks really amazing. You can kind of see the tip also has the magnet there, but besides that, it's actually a really nice sculpt. So let's just connect this to the torso. So here we have is one of the arm sculpts here for his left arm, where you kind of see it's like a closed palm, just like we got with the other one with the chainsaw blade. Here is just a regular version of that, as you can see here. Again, I think they did a really nice job here with the hand sculpt. You kind of see like tendons by his arm, his wrist area there, which looks really well sculpted. And the paint application on this looks also really good. And they gave it a lot of detail here. You kind of see like almost like a muscle section there with the elbow, and it looks, I mean, it's like a regular arm, right? I mean, you can kind of see the magnet there as well, but it's still a nice, pretty nice hand sculpt here, a pretty nice arm sculpt. So let's just connect this to the torso and see how it looks. So with the deluxe version, you do get is this head sculpt here, which is the regular Denji's face here, which honestly looks really great. You kind of see here we get is like a smirk or a smug Denji look here, or a look on Denji's face, which looks really great. And I actually really like this head sculpt. You can see at the bottom you do get is a little bit of his eyebrows there. His front bangs are kind of like somewhat covering it, but it's actually really well sculpted when it comes to the hair. Here's the bottom of his neck area, just like his arms, they're quite detailed. You can kind of see an Adam's apple, and going around his hair we can see the separate hair tips there, which are really amazing. You kind of see they added also lines to each of those like hair pieces, which gives it more of a pop feel to the actual statue, which looks really great. You kind of see here's the ears, which look also really sculpted well. Here's the top view section of his hair, again looks really great. A lot of detail work here. And here's his face again. Here's the top of his head, and besides that, The only thing I can say is do be careful when handling the hair piece. You don't want to accidentally flick one of the hairs and accidentally break it. So let's just connect this to his body. So here we have is another arm sculpt for his left hand here. As you can see here, this hand is only a slight difference is that it's holding onto a handle, which is the handle of, you know, Pochita's, oh, should I say when he revs up to become Chainsaw Man. As you can see here, he has like the little handle on his finger there. Again, is actually a really nice sculpt here. You can kind of see his finger holding on to the little handle, and the arm sculpt again looks really great. It does come with this little metallic pin here, which you do connect. It doesn't really actually go in, it just lays or just stands like this, but it doesn't really attach to it. But I think it gets really close to the body to hold it firm in place. So I'll be showing you guys that right here. So there's supposed to be a little hole there, a little indent I should say, where you do actually place the metal beam there, and at the same time you connect the actual arm sculpt, and it should keep it firm in place. So here's the other head sculpt you do get of Denji. Here, just like the other Chainsaw Man sculpt, he does have his tongue sticking out, which you can kind of see is a little bit more detail with his sharp teeth. Again, I feel like it's a little bit delicate, so do be careful with the tongue there. I feel that you can actually accidentally snap it. But besides that, here's a closer shot of his eyes. Again, looks really well painted. You can see his eyebrows has an expression of, I don't know, of like craziness. As you can see here, again, nice sculpt with the neck. Bottom, you kind of do see the magnet there, and you can kind of see they sculpted his Adam's apple. His ears are actually well sculpted, and I don't really think there's much of a difference between this besides the facial expression. The hair looks really well sculpted with the individual like hair strands and also the lines for each of the tips, which looks really great. Going around here from the side here, we get his side face here, and then the front again. So again, I don't really think there's much of a difference between these two head sculpts. Let's just add the head to the torso. So here are both Denji's head sculpts side by side, as you can see here. Again, I don't really think there's much of a difference with the hair. His facial expressions are obviously different, but again, if you do see something, you can tell me below. You can pause the video and, you know, see the both statues difference if there is any, besides the face. But again, this is probably the main head I'm going to be using for the statue, because Denji's a pretty funny guy. So here's the regular Chainsaw Man head. As you can see here, they're more of a neutral expression, and while Denji has that smug look. And I think these both heads go together compared to these both heads where they're both sticking their tongue out. Again, which is pretty funny actually. Well, on Denji it's pretty funny, but yeah, I think these two head sculpts go really well together. Here's the both arm sculpt, or should I say their right hand sculpt. As you can see here, an open palm for both, one with transformed chainsaw hand and the regular hand. Here's also for the left hand, as you can see here, one closed palm and one with the closed palm with the Chainsaw Man blade. Which a little slight difference is that the one with the fist and the blade is more upright while the other one's more straight. So here we have his Pochita's base, as you can see here, which is actually really cute. It's like a smaller version of Denji's base, where you can kind of see here's the Chainsaw Man's head. But the difference is that there is no teeth, so he's not chomping down on Pochita, which is actually pretty funny and cute. I don't know if that was intentional, but it's still cute nonetheless. You can kind of see the peg there. The bottom, you do see his Chainsaw Man, almost the same thing we saw on the bigger base, but it does not have the edition size on here. You can kind of see as the mangaka there, mappa, and other information. See, here we have his Pochita, as you can see here. So this is only included when you do get the bonus deluxe version on their website, where you do get is a sculpt of Pochita, which again looks pretty cool. I just had to get this just to have Pochita next to Denji, because they're pretty close friends. And you can kind of see he does have his handle. You see the tail here in the back, where he does rev up, another little section handle there between his legs there, stop. And yeah, it's actually quite cute. He's actually really small, or medium size compared to the whole statue overall, but there's not really much to show you, so let's just connect this to the base. And that should complete the unboxing of Prime1Studio's Denji / Chainsaw Man. Alright guys, so that was going to be the end of this one. So that was Prime1Studio's 1/4 scale Ultimate Premium Masterline Polystone statue of the character Denji, or Chainsaw Man, with Pochita Deluxe Bonus version from the series Chainsaw Man or Chainsaw Man. So all in all, I gotta say is this is such a cool looking statue. It actually is really amazing and it looks really cool. I love the swap outs with Denji's regular head with Chainsaw Man's head sculpt. And also I love the inclusion of Pochita in the bonus version, which is the main reason why I got this. But if you're going to ask me how I'm going to be displaying this, I'm probably going to be using Denji's head sculpt, because I feel like, as I stated earlier in the video, I kind of really like the character. And yes, if you are asking, this is an older statue. I think they released last year, but I finally was able to get my hands on it this year, so hopefully this statue unboxing gives you guys enough detail and closer shots on each part of the statue. And if you are asking, yes, I do have power ordered and I am waiting for that one. I did get the deluxe bonus version for power, so we are going to get Nyako, or Meowie, the cat. So, and yes, with the upcoming installment of the movie, the Reze Hen or Reze Arc, Prime1Studio did tease a Reze Arc statue, so I wonder how that would look like. I wonder if it's just gonna be Reze in a 1/4 scale, or they can go for a dioramic piece with Denji and Reze. You know, Reze exploding in the background and Denji's also like in another side pose. Something similar like they did with Jubei versus Tesai from Ninja Scroll. Or maybe they'll make it just herself, like this picture as you can see here of a custom statue with just Reze, which actually looks pretty cool. So all in all guys, if you have not seen the series, which I will be surprised that you have not, because I know everyone have seen the series Chainsaw Man, but if you have not, it's a great fun show. I highly recommend it. A little bit bloody and graphic with gore, but besides that, it's still a great series. I would highly recommend it for anyone who's into action. So I know I usually don't say this much, but I do have an Instagram, a Facebook, and a Twitter. If you actually want more closer shots and other angles of the statue, I will be posting that on my Facebook. And then on Instagram, I think I'm only limited to 11 pictures. If you wanted a variety of pictures, I say go onto my Facebook and I'll upload a whole bunch of different shots and angles of the statue with close-up shots if you want it in picture form. So with that being said, I don't want to keep holding you guys back. So that's going to be the end of this one. But always support the original creators of the series, the original creators of the soundtrack. But just from me, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This is gonna be a lot to edit, I know.
感情労働を想像した結局命名が命令だなりくりくまわんちょうかさほら狂った呪いだ次は誰だ誰だってこんなざまで勝てるわけないやんな僕が僕の心臓を君にあげるからもう一度溶かしてよこの胸のざわめきをいつか解いてよこの解けない呪いをもう一度その胸でギュッと抱いてさあさあ国をよ馳せて回れ身を焦がして恋して街に響け世の中のような蹴る夜のようなうるさいさされる街を か生きたくて死ぬか選ぶのはどっちでまた一人ぼっちかすでに犠牲ゆえにじめ風にぶつもう負けの現地追いかけてまた逃げられるじゃ掴んでさとしてもどうしようもないなだったら僕は嘘ついて身支度を整えて列が進み名を呼ばれるその時を待つさあさあ朝食のパンにジャム踏んでなんとなくイメージが日々を告げ見開きのような扉へのような嘘くさいフィナーレで花を見せろの時計が終わり全部見つけ出して壊したとしても知らない誰かが唇を切って旗を奪ってガスんだろさあさあ首を両はせて回れ身を焦がして恋して街に響け山の雨のようなケルガのようなうるさいファンファンで街を襲えうるさいファンファン君のせいだ
ちょっと待ってやっぱ良くないって明日も続く地獄だね出口がない一体見つからないんだけどあなたなんか知ってる
思えば出会いは単純だったきつめの酒を食らったように玉がクラクラクラしたそして目が合った
一瞬の進行と引き換えに一生と心臓を渡すのさ
永遠続くファンと悪夢目覚めた時あの苦しになっていたジャンクで汚れたこの声でうるせえガイアを黙らせるあんたがとやかく言わずともこちら側が殴り込んでやる正気なやからと蔑んだ奴らの思考の外に出る愛だかなんだか知らねえが望み通り深く落ちてやるんだたどり着いたぜあんたのせいだけを追ってこの呪縛と束縛抜かれてやるから知ったこっちゃないって言われるような価値も意味もないプライドの理由はない気づいてないようで実は全部知ってる
求愛だ崇拝だふざけんなない方が楽勝に生きれるさ
散々流してきた涙救いもせずただ音楽は鳴っていただけどさっさと切るべきプライドを一つも捨てずに成し遂げる愛した苦渋と辛酸と一粒も残さず飲んでやる一種の若気の至りだと舐めてた奴らに恥かかすこっちは生まれたその日から言葉と刃なら研いでやる
思えば出会いは単純だった恥に恥を塗る生涯だった
それでも俺は一つ勝ち取った眠れぬ夜や消えぬ後悔が何度も何度も何度も何度も何度もあんたがここで歌ってるジャンクで汚れたこの声でうるせえガイアを黙らせるあんたがとやかく言わずともこちら側が殴り込んでやるシャークなやからと蔑んだ奴らの思考の外に出る愛だかなんだか知らねえか望み通り深く落ちてやるんだたどり着いたぜあんたのせいだけを追ってこの呪縛と束縛抜かれてやるからちょっと待って ってやっぱまたループ Like the back room 憧れ出口はない実際まだ出れないんだけどあなたなんか知ってる 絶望のうちに立たされる言葉が辛い痛い帰りたい場所もないくらい吐き出せるこの絵でもいつだってバカばっかりやってしょぼい目からべきの先生ここでくたばったって別にいいけどつまんない冗談愛情の正体が苦しまぬように惑う地獄など最高の正体感何も知らんもんなんてない今ほどのクソしょうもない詳細系で使って這い上がるこの声援普通が欲しかったただそれだけだったんだ錆びたこの眼だけが君を見ようSilent